Good day, everyone. Well, I'm getting a couple videos out of the way this morning because I don't have many opportunities lately. It's early and this is my time. Here I am. I'm Carpo, or Joshua, if you will. I'm just another human on this spinning ball. What do you say? What do I say? I don't really even know how to define the idea that I'm trying to convey here, but I'm going to try my best. So forgive me if I stutter and mumble and don't get anything across, because I do make my best effort. I've spoken with, actually yesterday I was talking with a friend of mine and he sent me a text message that, what did he say? I want to read it to you because I think it'll convey what I'm trying to express here. It's a matter of certain things that just cannot be understood. And this is another major volcanic eruption. Anyway, we were talking about DOC and psychedelics and whatnot. And he says, oh God. Yeah. Anyway, I guess I probably won't be able to find him, so I'm mumbling. He says, I've been finding inspiration with the spirits lately and sketching the info into pictures. It's easier than explaining it in words. Essentially, the Tesseract reveals itself, or was revealed to me, and now I'm sort of boggled as what to do about it. It's sort of like God tapped on my shoulder gently and said, by the way, bro, I exist. My answer was, you're either enlightened or crazy. It's a joke, of course. My response, anyway. I know that feeling. That feeling that something's revealed itself to you and it can't be expressed in words. That it can only be felt or done through a language. And this is, a long way of explaining this is how I feel about humanity existing in its own right. The fact that humans are what we are. All the questions people have about why aren't things this way or why aren't things this way. It's very difficult to express these things and to discuss them with people. When somebody says, why aren't people more peaceful? Or, say, well, most people are, generally. People don't strive to cause chaos and be unhappy. It's a byproduct of our society. And the questions start to arise like, well, what can we do about it? Can we feed everyone and clothe everyone? And you start to ask, if everyone was happy, if everyone was fed and clothed, would everyone be happy? Would people still take advantage and still be cruel? Of course there would still be that. I hate to compare humans to the animal kingdom, but we are animals. And in the sense that if you look at, say, a group of monkeys, primates, they might be functioning within their group just fine, and then there's this one primate that's he never listens, he's always going off on his own, acting out, causing trouble with others. This will happen with lions, this can happen with turtles. Every animal's group has some sort of a psychotic, member, and it's just a genetic mutation, if you will. This is what I consider sociopaths to be, people who just have no emotion or care about other people. And then on the other hand, I started really considering this, thinking, if this is true, if this is just a fault in humanity, then why does nature continue to produce psychotic people at about a 1 to 2% ratio throughout history, and it's never changed? Why has this not been weeded out? And you go deeper and deeper, and you start saying, well, it wants it this way. It's set up this way. We have to have a psychopath out there in order to see the balance, to see where not to go. It's just like watching someone else do a stunt before you do it to see what the method is. If you see a person robbing and stealing and harming someone, then you see the price that they pay, not just legally, but the guilt that they might feel, then you think, I don't want to be in that position myself. The problem with sociopaths is that there's seldom guilt that we know of. Anyway, I won't get into the technical aspects of being human. What I'm trying to convey is the idea that some of these things are felt in just symbols and metaphors and cannot be expressed in words. But when we make the attempt you end up doing what I'm doing and just stuttering around. We have the obligation to ourselves to be as good of a person as we can, and that's going to be very dependent upon the individual. I would never sit here and tell people what you should do with your life. When I was maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I was the kind of person who would say, everyone needs to do this, everyone needs to do that, and the world will be just fine. Educating myself in the reality of history and seeing that as many people that have tried to change the world, there's never been a consistent pattern that works for everyone, because there's no consistent pattern in nature except for existence. And even that maybe isn't a pattern, maybe things pop in and out of existence, such as the whole idea that, I discussed, for example, yesterday, when I was talking with my mom about reincarnation, and I said, maybe it's possible, maybe it's not, maybe we reincarnate in part, maybe part of our energy carries on. I'm not denying that energy doesn't dissipate. But what I'm saying is that in the end, eventually your consciousness, your awareness of this life becomes irrelevant and dissolves back into the grand scheme of things. And eventually all of it will be gone. And maybe it will be reborn after that. But seeing the big cycles of things, it doesn't matter whether you look at the universe as always existing, or whether it popped into existence and then it's always going to be there, or whether it's a big bang, big crunch type thing where it pulses. This is all just laughable stuff that none of us are capable of understanding as individuals. Excuse me. Scientifically, we can listen to the experts about what space is, but all of these things are just yearning outside ourselves to try to see the greater pattern, to try to understand what's our part in the pattern. And I'm starting to see this, that we're not trying to understand space so we know what's out there. We're trying to understand space so we know how it works, so we can compare that grand archetype or that macrocosm to our microcosm of being a human. At least a lot of us are, and that's what I've been doing. When I look at geometry now, when I look at symbols, triangles and squares within triangles, triangles within squares, I start to feel what they mean. I see the message. And I'm starting to think that through this, people can understand some of these untranslatable hieroglyphs, and this is how a lot of people have, very simple things like, wavy lines for water, these types of symbols that have been used through history. Perhaps they're vibrations, perhaps they're water ripples, who knows? But the point being that each symbol conveys a message, and some of these are universal. No matter who you show these to, they'll understand. I guess to try to wrap it up, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say here is that, in my opinion, the best solution to being human and the problems that come with that is to just accept it for what it is. And I often get into long discussions with people when I say things like that, when they say, well, you can't just accept things the way they are, you have to try to change them. And I'm not saying you don't make an effort to change the world, but you don't create an anxiety over the way that things are. It allows you to have a clearer head to function and to understand these things. And I think that if more people took it upon themselves to just take things and accept things as they are, yet at the same time, with that clear-headedness, put forth an effort to try to change the things they can. And with the discussion, I was talking with someone, I used the old AA quote, they always say, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And back when I first heard that, I thought, whatever. It's got God in the word. I'm not going to listen to it. But that stuck with me through history, through my whole life. Like that's, hey man, if you can't change it, don't worry about it. It's easy to say, but there are too many people worried about too many things they can't change. And it makes me sad, because I worry about, I've done it. I've had my share of stress and worry, and I still worry. In fact, sometimes maybe I don't worry enough. I should probably worry more about some of the things I need to take care of, but it's just an interesting thing to be able to walk out in the backyard in the morning close your eyes and look at the pond. In your mind, of course. Hear the pond and just feel the world, you know. And on a final note, this is something I forgot to mention in my music video where I talked about music. The one thing that brings people together and understanding is through music. And one thing that I never really considered about music is it's a distraction from whatever emotion or feeling or idea that you have at the moment. If you put on music and you start listening to the music, you're engulfed within that. It's like working, if you will. When you're working, this is how people get into their passions and their hobbies, and time just flies because they're just into what they're doing, not thinking about the daily life. And that's what music does for us too. It allows an entire group of people to come together and just dance over a feeling. And it's just what life's all about. It's just experiencing things and making the most of it. And trying not to knock each other down in the process. I often get misinterpreted when I say that, you know, life's just about experience and being happy. I would never do that at the cost of another person. It's the most important thing to me, to make sure that another's not suffering for my happiness. And that's hard. That's a hard one. It's difficult to be an aware and now analyzing human that's conscious of your life, that's conscious of what you do, where you analyze yourself consistently and each thing, each behavioral pattern, you nitpick yourself and try to figure out how can I change this or fix it, or do I need to fix it? And sometimes you see people that just seem to go through life never even caring or wondering. That to me is amazing, but alas, that's humanity for you. The balance, that's what it's all about. The way that it's set up, it seems to be just perfect. And that's, I guess, the crux of my discussion here. The main point is that things are just so. There are things that could be better, but that's only by the perception of what we consider to be good and bad. The fact that things are at all, pretty damn amazing. And the fact that we forget so many things in our lives, the negative things, and that we're able to move forward through so much turmoil and bullshit, shows that we've developed a way to overcome, and we'll always be able to overcome our shortcomings if we're willing to make the effort. So, anyway, that's what I got for today. Wish you all well.